Every culture, every nation, all over the world has a food they consider their staple dish. From grain to meat to tubers to fish, one type of food dominates a particular region. In Africa, that dish is ugali. In this video, we will see how ugali conquered Africa and became the most widely eaten dish. From West Africa to East Africa to Southern Africa, whether brown, white or yellow, whether soft or hard, this humble dish is the most dominant. Ugali is so important to African culture that the United Nations includes it in its UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage list. Ugali is a type of cornmeal mainly made with maize flour and sometimes sorghum, millet or cassava. It is best served hot with a stew of vegetables, meat or milk. Western Africa has fufu, which is softer and stickier than ugali. Fufu is made with boiled cassava, plantain and cocoyam. In the rest of Africa, however, ugali and ugali-like meals are primarily made with maize flour. We will be focusing on the latter in this video. Despite its popularity, ugali as we know it today was non-existent in pre-colonial Africa. Maize, the main ingredient, only came to Africa in the 17th century via Portuguese traders. So what makes ugali so popular? To answer this question, we must travel back to a time before maize came to Africa. In those olden days, African communities found native grains such as sorghum and millet. Having no access to machinery, these grains were processed by crushing them with a mortar and pestle or milling them using a grinding stone. The mortar and pestle were primarily used to make grains for porridge, while the grinding stone made fine flour to make a pre-ugali kind of cake. In the 17th century, Portuguese traders introduced maize from South America into the African continent. At the time, Portugal was a naval power commanding strategic trading ports across the world. The Portuguese initially introduced it to supply staff and soldiers posted in their forts along the coasts. The crop was eventually adopted by African farmers due to its high energy yield, its low labor requirements, and its short growing season. It slowly but surely replaced sorghum and millet, except in the drier regions where it did not perform so well. Maize became a staple in Africa during the colonial period, where European powers first cultivated it for export and later for domestic consumption. Soon after, ugali was born and adopted by Africans in the east, west and south of the continent. No single person can be said to have invented ugali, as we don't have records of when the first ugali was cooked. However, considering earlier similar meals prepared from sorghum, millet and cassava, we can say that ugali was a continuation of these foods, only with maize as the new ingredient. To make ugali, you only need two ingredients: maize flour and water. Add the flour to a boiling sufuria of water and stir until you have a cake-like mix. That's it. However, this short recipe should not deceive you into thinking that making ugali is easy. Oh no, it needs some getting used to. First, if you add excess water, you turn it into a porridge. Second, if you add too much flour, it becomes a hard brick. The most important is time. You neither want to undercook ugali, nor do you want to burn it, which in my experience is very easy. It takes some time and skill to master cooking ugali. In fact, ugali cooking skills are so important that soon-to-be married women from many Kenyan communities must prove their skills before their marriage can be officiated. And talking about marriage, ugali is very common in wedding receptions and other feasts. In countries such as Kenya, ugali has become such a staple that the price of unga, that is maize flour, can determine whether a presidential candidate wins or loses an election. This is because ugali's affordability makes it the most widely consumed meal in Kenya. Almost every Kenyan county grows maize, although Uasin Gishu and Nakuru counties produce the most, with seeds of maize plantations as far as the eye can see. However, even these large-scale farms cannot satiate Kenya's 54 million citizens, and tons of maize have to be imported from neighboring Tanzania. But don't misjudge the humility of ugali for cheapness. While it is true that ugali is the main dish for lower-income households, it is also found on the plates of higher-income earners. It is a hungry man's favorite in a roadside kibandaski, and a hungry man's favorite in the 5-star Kempinski. So you may ask, why is ugali so popular across the socio-economic spectrum? Number one is the culture of growing up eating ugali. Just like the Italians have pizza and the Indians have biryani, Ugali has become part of the African cuisine passed down through generations. Number 2. Ugali is affordable. This is probably the most obvious reason. Compared to other foods, ugali is inexpensive for many families across Africa. And number 3, the ease of pairing. It is easy to pair with a variety of stews found all over Africa. While we have established that ugali is common in both the lower and higher income groups, the differences show themselves in the grade of flour and the accompaniment. Higher income earners tend to buy sifted flour from stores, while lower income earners mill their maize at a posho mill, also known as a kisiagi. This is not to say that the opposite isn't true. It is common for a tycoon to prefer whole grain kisiagi ugali, and vice versa. The major difference, however, comes in the accompaniments. In Kenya, the national accompaniment for ugali is sukuma wiki, that is, collard greens. This leafy vegetable is the most common ugali stew, often mixed with native veggies such as managu, terere, or misheveve to elevate the taste. According to the depth of your pocket, you can add some protein to the mix with beans, dengu, beef, pork, chicken, fish, goat, matumbo, and any meat that your religion allows or that your stomach can hold. Accompaniments vary and depend on the region. People living in coastal and lakeside areas accompany ugali with fish. In the drier region, they eat camel. In agricultural zones, veggies, and in the urban areas, a mixture of all of the above. Another common ugali accompaniment is eggs, in a classic meal known as ugali mayai. This is extremely common with university students and with bachelors. And of course, I cannot leave out mutura, a Kenyan-made sausage popular as a street food. Kenya is famous for Nyama Choma, our version of barbecue. It is often served with a side of kachumbari, some pilipili, and ugali is the accompaniment to this delicacy 99% of the time. That missing 1% is for a weird bunch that eats Nyama Choma with chapati. Avoid those kinds of people at all costs. You can't trust them. Recently, there has been a looming movement trashing ugali and attempting to dethrone it as the staple food. Most of the backlash accuses ugali of being a colonial project and an imposter to the African diet. The other camp puts ugali on trial for being a low nutrition, high effort but low reward meal. Do you think that these people have a point? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. In conclusion, we see that ugali's affordability, ease of pairing, and absorption into the African cuisine made it popular across regions. Although it is beginning to face backlash in favor of more flavorful and nutritious foods, it is safe to say that for now, ugali remains the king. The question is, how long will it reign? Only time will tell. And with that, we have come to the end of this video. Thanks a bunch for watching till the end. This short video essay has been a departure from my usual listicles, so let me know in the comments what you think about this format. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.